Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Modcast. We have been on hiatus for a couple of weeks now, but we're back. We are back permanently until we have to go away again, but that's fine. I can't think of a better way to be back, though. I want to get straight into this because, honestly, I'm so hyped to talk about this show. We are here for the Oh my god, I nearly said the dynamite thing. It's been a weird day because I've been so hyped about this show. We are here to review, me and Dory, your regularly scheduled, odd couple. We're here to talk about Double or Nothing 2025. And I'm going to introduce Dory. I want to get her thoughts on this real quick. Just an overall vibe about the show. Dory, what did you think?
Had two matches that were possibly match of the year contender and match of the decade contender. And then there was also a Sammy match.
Yeah, whatever. Well, we'll talk about that. I have my opinions on that match.
But no, it was a really great show. Seriously, it was a really great show. I loved it pretty much from start to finish. There's a couple spots where I blank out. But overall, I thought this was a really great show and really strong, and some questionable booking decisions that we'll talk about pretty much at the start of the show. But and I'll crash out a little bit, and Adam will be there, and it'll be fun.
What I will say is, just before we get into sort of the play-by-play of this is probably, for my money, the most consistently excellent pay-per-view AEW has ever put on. Because, like, if you look at the sort of quintessential picks for AEW's best shows ever, like All Out 2021, Revolution 2024, sort of All In, maybe All In last year as well, there's always something that you go and that you turn around and be like, oh, well, that wasn't very good, or that was sort of a letdown. You know, I'm thinking like Paul White versus QT Marshall on All Out. I'm thinking Mercedes Moné versus Britt Baker at All In. But like, I genuinely, and I know you have your opinions on, Sammy Guevara showing up in this pay-per-view, but even that match, I think, was a good match. There is nothing,
Yes, I do agree. In all seriousness.
absolutely nothing on this show that wasn't at least good, and the
Yep.
highs of this show were absolutely astronomical.
Yep.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
no,
there's
yeah,
nothing.
I agree. I don't have anything to add.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into it. We'll get into it. We'll talk about the pre-show briefly. Not a great deal to talk about here. I mean, it's just standard. It's just standard sort of AEW pre-show, right? You know, there's a couple of matches to get people on the card first of all, and also to bring the crowd up. You know, to get people excited for the main card. There is one aspect that I do want to talk about, though. I'm just looking at the pre-show now. We had two matches on the pre-show. First of all, the one that I think had a little bit more intrigue about it than the other one is a women's tag team match right at the start. You had the team of Anna Jay and Harley Cameron versus Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford. And I just want to talk about this briefly because I feel like they made their entrances, both of these teams, coordinated gear. Anna Jay and Harley Cameron had like a mixed up tag team theme, sort of reminiscent of, sort of MJF and Adam Cole. I just want to point out that this seems like a very deliberate ploy, a very deliberate attempt to showcase women's tag team wrestling. Like, actually, you know, defined teams with defined characters and presentation, all in service perhaps towards bringing in women's tag team belts. I mean, what do you think?
I don't know what else to make of it. If not, this is a really weird match to not to book necessarily because they've had feuds, but I mean the mixed music, the matching outfits, the synergy that both teams have. You notice that both teams had little moves that bounced off each other and worked really well together. I thought
Mm.
this was a really solid match, and if they're not doing tag belts, when TK literally said in a media call recently that it's something he's looking into and something he's spoken about before. I don't know what we're doing, but yeah, this was a great match. And you know what? I think this is probably the first time ever that there are as many women's matches as there were men's matches on the pre-show. Now, of course, you can say there were just two, but hey, technicality is a technicality, and I'll take it.
It's very true, but yeah, I feel like the tag team the women's tag team aspect in AEW has slowly but surely been sort of forming, if you will, sort of coalescing, because you have teams like these two teams. You have people like Julia Hart and Sky Blue. You have people potentially like Willow and Stat. I think TK has done a good job of slowly and quietly building the foundations for a women's tag team division for when I should imagine he will bring in women's tag team belts.
Yeah, it's definitely. I think it's getting introduced before All In, and there's reasons for that we'll get into. That I'm definitely not crashing out about, and don't worry about it.
Of course, of course. There was also another match on the pre-show, an 8-man tag team match, and it was, I've got my notes here, AR Fox, Bandido, and Dory, say the name.
Los Titanes del Aires.
Do you know what? That's the best you've ever done it, and you still fucked it
Yeah,
up.
let's go. I did it for Kim the other day, and it was fuck awful, and I was like, no.
You knew I was going to ask.
I did.
It was AR Fox, Bandido, and Los Titanes del Aire. And they beat the team of what I'm going to keep calling the Sea Mines, because that's something that you introduced to my brain, and now I can't unsee it.
Mm.
And Hot Fuzz is one of my favourite films of all time anyway, so... but yeah, the Crew, as they are officially titled, and RPG Vice, as they are officially titled. Nobody calls them that.
My favorite JRPG, right next to Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, it does sort of seem like, someone's made a fan-made version of Miami Vice. But yeah, Roppongi Vice, as everyone will know them. Fun little match, this.
Yeah, I thought this was a really great match. Honestly, one of usually pre-show matches are just pretty good or great, but honestly, I had this at a really great. I thought this was a really strong match. My favorite parts, of course, were the times where everybody kind of just like flipped off and did it at the same time. Not use their middle finger like I do with Adam, but instead like flipped off the turnbuckles at the same time. That was incredible. Fox, Bandito, Commander, and Hologram all did kind of synchronized topes, some 450s, just some moonsaults. It was awesome. I mean, I love it. This is the kind of shit I love in AEW.
Yeah, absolutely, and I really appreciate the spotlight that was put on I'll Spare Your Blushes, Hologram and Commander, in the sense that I feel like they're the sort of team that you can build up to be a very credible threat for the AEW tag team titles, which is a division that has been sorely needing credible threats as of
I'd
late.
honestly put them against Hurt Syndicate in Arena Mexico. I think that'd be amazing.
That would be a fantastic match, and it would not surprise me if that is actually the direction, because they've been setting the groundwork for that, right? They've been going to Arena Mexico, they've been doing CMLL, so yeah, I think that would fit really well. But yeah, excellent little match. Got the crowds on their feet, which is always the aim of a pre-show match, and streamlined us really well, nicely into the main card. We'll just go chronologically. We don't need to sort of jazz it up any more than that. We started this show, which I thought was really, really a really good tactic, was bookended by the Owen Hart Cup. The two finals. Thought that was a really inspired idea. So obviously we started, because they announced the main event was going to be Ospreay versus Hangman. We start with Mercedes Moné versus Jamie Hayter. And look, before you crash out, because I know you want to. I know you want to about the finish of this. Just give it a couple of minutes. Let's just talk about this match. This match, the 20 minutes that precede this finish, were absolutely phenomenal.
That's it.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting for you to agree or disagree with me.
Okay, yes, I agree.
Thank you. Fuck me. But this match, right, there was just some phenomenal wrestling on show in this match. Jamie Hayter, I want to put over, you can talk about the finish in a minute. I want to put over just how much Jamie Hayter has been elevated by this program with Mercedes Moné. Because let's all be honest with ourselves, before the Owen Hart Cup. She'd been back since All In. She'd been back sort of 8 months. Was anyone really thinking, oh, she's credible? She could beat, Tony Storm or even Mercedes.
Yeah, I mean, Jamie
Did
wasn't
anyone?
looking her best at the start, and it's understandable. She was away for 15 months and through a incredibly horrible back injury that she suffered. So I
Hmm.
was understanding of it, but yeah, she obviously wasn't bringing her A game necessarily. I did think her rivalry with Julia was really great overall, and the matches that she had at the beginning when she came back with Soraya were unfortunate, but they were watchable. And yeah, so I do largely agree with you.
Yeah, and I thought this match. I think this match is Jamie Hayter's best since probably the Hikaru Shida match, way back
Mm.
sort of 3 years ago.
Oh my god.
I'd hazard and say it's Mercedes' best AEW pay-per-view match, which I know will be controversial because I know you, along with, I mean, myself and others, love the Chris Statlander matches, but for me, this was just a cut above them in terms of the action itself. Um, but yeah, we have to talk about the finish, and I am not as down on this as you, but I'll let
Yep.
you rant. I'll let
Yep.
you rant for like two
Cool.
minutes.
So there's so many things that we could have done here, right? We could have had Athena interfere. We could have had Jamie win clean. I know that was never going to happen, but she could have done a surprise roll up. We could have had Jamie turn heel and cheat to win. I also would have been okay with that. Look, this is the reason I'm crashing out, okay? I am concerned about the women's division. I think what Tony's going to do, which I do not like, I do not approve of, and I do not support, but I think this is what he's going to do. He is going to say, Mercedes, thanks for coming. Have another belt, which is fine. She's the GOAT. She's amazing. This isn't me not liking Mercedes and not wanting her to have the whole world, because I do. And then Willow should beat her down the road for the world title. But regardless, she should. And Mercedes should have the world title at some point. I'm fine with that. What my problem is, I don't like her having the TBS belt, and I don't like having the world title belt. I think what Tony's going to do, and this is another reason I think the tag titles are going to happen, is because he's going to say, okay, well, that's obviously going to tie up a lot of the women's division on one person, and it's going to limit how many people can be on a given show, right? Unless you're going to do a lot of non-title feuds, which, yes, Tony has been doing more of lately, but I don't think it's enough that we can really even keep up this level of women's involvement, let alone more, which is what I want, by the way. I want more, like the Kylo Ren meme. I think what they're going to do is Tony's going to say, okay, I see that problem. I'm going to introduce women's tag belts. That way it's not as big of an issue, which I appreciate, but it just means that we're keeping basically at the status quo and we're not actually getting more time for women. Now, more women will be on TV just mathematically, right? Because of tag teams. And I do appreciate that. And I am excited for more women having screen time and getting paid and being able to work and yada yada. But ultimately, it's not really going to move the needle in terms of how much time and investment from Tony that they are getting. So that is frustrating. I don't think Mercedes should have both singles belts. I do think she should drop the TBS belt. Here's my massive amounts of copium. If you wanted some copium, here it is. I'm delusional with this shit. I know it. I need Athena. And then they said it on the scrum, so I know how delusional I am, but at least they said it on the scrum. Mercedes says that she knows where to find Athena if Athena wants to fight her again. So have Mercedes fight Athena right before y'all in at Supercard of Honor. Have Athena take the TBS belt off her, and then I'm fine with Mercedes winning the world title belt. Now, will that happen? No, it will not. It will probably not happen. I can't see Mercedes wrestling two times so close together in one of the biggest women's matches of all time and one of AEW's biggest events of the year. I just can't see them risking that because what if Mercedes gets hurt? Then you have to like turn around and immediately change it. I just don't see Tony risking that. But I'm not saying Mercedes is running from the grind or whatever. I think she personally would be interested in that. Obviously, Athena and her greatly respect each other when they're not calling each other porcelain hussies. So anyway, that's my crash out. I don't like Mercedes winning, but I'm not going to deny it was an excellent match. It was really really good. I loved it. I will never watch it again because the finish is too painful for me to even imagine, let alone watch. But if Tony
Yes,
can't fix this, I don't think he will fix it. I think he'll just put a little band-aid called the women's tag
Dory.
team belt, and that'll be his fix. and it'll
Dory.
bring us basically right back to where we are now. And I'm gonna grumble about it, and I'm not gonna be happy. And also,
Dory.
Mercedes is winning it all in. And if you don't think she's winning it all in, I have a fucking
Dory.
bridge. I have a fucking bridge to sell you. Anyway, what?
Dory.
Yeah,
I think she's losing.
what? What? No, no, you don't. There's no way you
Yes,
genuinely think that.
I absolutely 110. Well, I don't think
Who beats?
110%.
Okay, then who fucking
I
beats
think
Tony? Who?
I think
Tekla?
Willow Nightingale.
Oh, come on. The story is there for now. I'm crashing out. So the story is there for Mercedes and
Dory,
Willow.
you have had your fucking crasher or Chris Statlander. You cannot tell me that there are not a myriad of different options that you could have to beat Tony Storm.
Mercedes is winning. This is
Chris Statlander.
I had my copium, but this is ridiculous. There's no way Mercedes loses in the biggest event, basically in the WrestleMania.
I think Mercedes loses, and I think not only do I think that Mercedes loses, I think that all your fears will be assuaged when Mercedes Moné and Tony Storm have a 25-minute match in a baseball stadium that is one of the greatest matches of all time. And you will sit there with egg on your face when Timeless Tony Storm holds up the AEW Women's World Championship, and I will gloat at you, and I will say, I fucking told you so, and
Somebody
I will
clip
say,
that. There's no way this fucking happens.
well, clip me. I don't give a fuck. I'm right. You're wrong. This match.
Also, I do want to say, unrelated. Statlander versus Mercedes is my highest rated Mercedes match on pay-per-view. So yeah, I am one of those people. But anyway, go ahead. The one at World's End, by the way, the one at World's End.
Oh, that's a controversial one. I prefer the full gear one. But that's by the by. I don't really have much else to say about this. I just history will prove me correct. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Let's go CEO. But we'll move swiftly on because I don't want to get bogged down in crash out followed by cope, followed by crash out, followed by cope. We'll move on to the next match, and you and I can hash it out later off camera or off mic. But yeah, the next match on the card. By the way, just to put over, this crowd was hot the entire fucking night. Oh my word. I mean, it shouldn't be surprising at this point, just because AEW crowds have consistently been hot as hell for like a good few months now. But this, I just want to put over, they can never fucking go back to Vegas. Holy shit. You know what I mean? Like, there were, I think, maybe 8,500 people in this arena. You could have told me there was 100,000 in this arena. They were loud as hell all night long. And this match included, this match that we're going to talk about now, it was way better than I thought it had any right to be. It was FTR versus Danny Garcia and Nigel McGuinness. I will never not pop for seeing Nigel McGuinness wrestle. He could wrestle a 60-minute match with fucking, I don't know, Butterbean, and I would be like, oh my god, it's Nigel McGuinness. But yeah, this match. You have a weird opinion on this match that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, so I think it's a solid match. I'm actually really close to saying it's a really great match. If somebody said this was a really great match, I wouldn't argue. But for me,
I'd say it's a really great match.
Okay. But for me, there's a little too much stalling. Nigel just looks out of place in some parts. I know why, but that's still my opinion. And just generally, like, it just didn't hit that next level for me. But that's all with a caveat, because I think FTR's heel work is excellent here. It's primo. One of my favorite moments of the match isn't even a wrestling move, which, kind of why it's only a 4 out of 5. But it's when, fucking Cash goes up to Tony and Nigel has him by the hair, by the FTR hair. And he says, like, say you're sorry. He's like, I'm sorry, Mr. Schiavone. I'm sorry. And then he fucking pushes Nigel into the stairs later on, and he comes back to Tony. He's like, ha, I had my fingers crossed, you shit. And I was like, oh my god. I loved it. It was so good. Such goofy wrestling for life. Such good heel work. I fucking adore that.
They were so good during this match, and like I respectfully, which is unusual for me when it comes to you, I respectfully disagree with you regarding Nigel McGuinness's feeling out of place during this match. I was really surprised that he was worked over so thoroughly for so much of this match, because I fully expected the formula of the match to be, FTR isolate Danny Garcia, they beat him down, and Nigel gets like a hot tag and runs wild for like 2 minutes or so. But no, Nigel McGuinness like takes the majority of the match, in the sense like he's in the action for most of it, and he properly gets worked over by FTR. Like, they're not fucking about. And yeah, this match. Your weird opinion, by the way, was that you thought it was a bit too short, and I was telling you, like, it went 25 fucking minutes. What do you want from it?
Yeah, well, because there's so much stalling, it felt like it didn't go that long. But yeah, I did rewatch it like an hour ago, and it's actually like it's basically a Collision main event that happened to be on a pay-per-view. I think if it had been on Collision, I would have said it was really great, but because it was on
We,
pay-per-view, I had higher expectations. But
I feel very similar about a match that we'll talk about later, much
hmm,
later actually.
I
But
think I
yeah,
agree with you. I'm
uh,
pretty sure I agree with you.
I really really enjoyed this match. I thought the finish was really good. I know some people were like, "How could you pass out from a sharpshooter?" Have you never heard of the like, learn your basic biology? If you are in enough pain, your body will shut down.
Yeah, and that was also after people weren't talking about this enough. After he took two different stuffed pile drivers to the head. So, like in
Mm.
kayfabe, like Danny was already really close to passing out, and then they put him in a sharpshooter, and his body's like, nope. I mean, it's not fucking UFC. It doesn't matter. I don't really care. I saw that, and it didn't. The thought didn't even occur to me. And then all of a sudden, people were fucking complaining about, oh well, he didn't pass out, and then it's like,
Yeah, if
or he
people
shouldn't have passed out. But like, whatever.
if people want their wrestling to be like UFC, here's a newsflash for you: go and watch fucking UFC.
Or go watch Bloodsport, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay, but even then, you cannot map professional wrestling onto MMA. They've
Yeah.
tried. I watched Ronda versus Shayna. They fucking tried, and we're
I
not doing
watched
that again.
Hater versus Wardlow.
Oh my god, don't. Um,
One of the weirdest 15 minutes of my life, I think.
oh Jesus Christ! Why would you
I know.
remind me of that? Uh,
So yeah.
um, yeah, that's completely thrown me.
Sorry.
That
I
has
do
done
want to
like
say another thing.
genuine. That's done
Oh,
like
go ahead.
genuine psychic damage to me. Just remembering that match
It's super
happened.
effective. I do want to say I love Dax kind of going on the mat at certain points also and being like, "Oh no, Nigel," and like the most like just discompat. I don't know why they ever turned face at this point. Like they were a great face for a while, and obviously their Briscoe stuff was legendary. But I'm so glad that they're back as heels and they're just magnificent in the ring. I do think the three amigos that Danny did from the top rope. Well, the attempted
Super amigos.
the three super amigos was really good. I really enjoyed that. The
Mm.
a couple of clotheslines that Nigel did, the assisted falling the Tower of London looked really good. I like that as well. Cash selling his leg and then using that as an excuse to hit the Shatter Machine on the outside. Oh, so good. Remember when they called it the Big Rig? I'm so glad they changed it to the Shatter Machine. Such a better
Oh, thank
name for the
God.
move.
I mean, they did name it the Big Rig after Brody Lee, so we can't criticize them too
Oh,
heavily
okay.
for
I did
it.
forget about that. Never mind. It was perfect, and I am sorry.
Yeah, wow, you just hate Brody Lee. Fuck you.
Yeah, I'm shooting a -1 next.
Oh, I
Can't
mean,
believe
fuck
that
that
fuck
kid.
won a
Um,
Royal Rumble. How dare he?
yeah, I mean, I hate him for making them keep the Dark Order on ice until he's
Oh,
18, so we can just leave.
yeah,
But
yeah, sure.
that's neither here nor there. I want to talk about the fucking stretcher match, because
Right. Let's talk about the stretcher match.
this match, Ricochet and Mark Briscoe. This match had, oh my god. So there have been stretcher matches in history, right? I'm drawing a blank on the specifics. I think Kane and John Cena had one once, or like an ambulance match or whatever.
Right.
They're generally not very good. I think that's fair to say. So my
Yes.
expectations for this were like, I mean, I thought it's gonna be good because it's Ricochet and Mark Briscoe. I don't think they're capable of having a bad match together. But the stipulation made me a bit worried. But holy shit, they absolutely killed each other out there. especially Mark Briscoe. I mean, the man probably need like the word of the day was transfusion after that match.
Well, the word of the day is always half of that for me, but
Hey,
because I love the fusion dance
you
from
love.
Dragon Ball
I was,
Z. What else did
I
you
was gonna
think I
say.
meant, Adam? What else did you
I was
think
gonna.
I could have meant?
I was gonna say you love alternative, futuristic forms of energy production,
Okay, all right, fair enough.
like you know, exploiting trans people for energy. Um, but yes, regardless, this stretcher match. I mean,
Yes.
like this is a case of a match starting at 11 and going to like a 15 really fucking quick.
Yep.
Like they started off by killing each other and then they defiled the corpse for another 10 minutes.
Jesus.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they were,
Yeah, it looked like it was going to be over real quick because when the match started, Briscoe tried to get Ricochet in there real quick, but Ricochet
mm,
was able to get out of the ambulance. A couple moments I really liked were obviously Ricochet using the scissors, but also Briscoe doing the froggy bow through the table. That was a really great
that
moment
looked
as well.
awesome.
Yeah, that looks so good. He just perfectly went through the the table. It looked amazing. Oh, and of
And
course
like
the crutch spot where Briscoe is about to put, or not Briscoe, Ricochet is about to put Briscoe in the ambulance, and I love that, by the way. And Briscoe all of a sudden like a crutch, like a crutch, just like slowly comes out of the ambulance right before he can close both doors, and it's just a perfect spot. And then he just whacks Ricochet with it. It was beautiful.
excellent. I want to put over one other spot as well, which had me absolutely howling. Which was Mark Briscoe gets a bag from I think it's underneath the ring, and he pulls it out, and there's fucking like shiner or cleaning products and stuff.
Yes.
And he grabs it and he sprays Ricochet's bald fucking head with it, and grabs a rag and starts shining up his head.
Yeah, that I was laughing so hard. Taz was laughing. The commentary was in stitches, as I'm sure Mark was later in the night. It was an amazing little comedy bit like there, and I loved it.
It was superb. And like I say, Mark Briscoe, I mean, he hit an absolute gusher. You know, he gets busted open sort of like it's only 2 or 3 minutes into the match, and the man goes. I don't know whether this is too nerdy or too deep a reference, but he goes like 0.9 muta on this match. Like he hits the scale real fucking close. He's absolutely bleeding like a stuck pig, as only Mark Briscoe can. He's a terrific bleeder. He's like sort of Ric Flair levels of bleeder, and yeah, he's phenomenal. And we fully expected him. Spoilers for later on in the night. I fully expected him when Ricochet put him in the stretcher and carted him off. That would be the last we see of Mark Briscoe for a while, because rumor has it he's had another kid, as he is wont to do. So speculation was that he was going off of paternity leave, and Ricochet was gonna, basically murder him as he did, and throw him in the ambulance, and we'd see him back. I don't know, maybe after All In or something. But
Right.
yeah,
Also
you okay?
underrated. Yeah, yeah. Also underrated. I just want to make sure you were done. Ricochet shooting star press onto the stretcher, just onto the stretcher, just doesn't even hit Briscoe, just hits him. Hits the
I know
stretcher. It just looks so painful. But yeah,
it really did.
this was a really great match, really strong, and I liked the physicality. The blood was great too. I sound like a psycho saying that, and yeah, this was great. I think we went right into Speedball versus Okada. I don't think there was a match in between those two things, right, Adam?
I will not let you slander this match anymore. Look. We all had the same reaction when the graphic popped up that it was going to
Right.
be, well, we all had the same reaction when the graphic popped up a couple of weeks ago that this was going to be the match. But we all had the same reaction in while we were watching the pay per view, that was like, oh, it's the tag team match. Time for a piss. Um,
And I did, by the
and
way. I want everyone to know I literally did use the bathroom right before this started because, yeah,
I did.
yeah, yeah.
But this match, I think it's fair to say the expectations for this match were absolutely like in the ninth circle of hell for this match, because like I love the Hurt Syndicate. Everyone loves the Hurt Syndicate. They're over as fuck. They're cool as fuck. You know, I've loved the MJF storyline, but fuck me, the fucking Sammy Guevara. Like, I I was crashing out so hard when they put Sammy Guevara on this show. But this match, and I will stand on business with this match. I will shout it from the rooftops just to be a pain in the ass about it. This match was good. It was a good match, Dory.
Look, I'm going to drop all gimmicks, and then I'm immediately going to put that gimmick right back up. I have it at a 3.75, so I don't disagree with you. My main problem with it is I was not invested. I knew Hurt Syndicate was going to win, and I just didn't really care about it. But that said, Sammy showed out, and Dustin looked good. Did all his usual stuff. You know, the code red and
He got
the dives and the power slams and the curtain call. I think that's what it's
the
called.
man is 55. The man is 55, and he got speared through the barricade, and it was like. You see spears through the barricade sometimes, and it's
Yes.
like, oh well, obviously that's big gimmick. No, Bobby Lashley like fucking launched him through this barricade, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, you're like in your mid-50s, and you've been doing this for 30 fucking years. Are you okay? And like, just respect to Dustin Rhodes for doing that.
Yeah, I
Starters,
do, and
because
I do, and I do respect and appreciate it. I will say there was some fun stuff with MJF where they kept teasing that he was annoying the Hurt Syndicate, but Bobby eventually gave him a hug. There was some
mm,
cheating here and there, good stuff. And I mean, I just didn't want this on the pay-per-view. I'm gonna be real. I would have tolerated it if it was on Dynamite. Oh, fuck it, even main event, I don't care. But I just didn't really want to see it on the pay-per-view card. I didn't really need a cool-down match after the stretcher match. I understand the placement. I understand what it was supposed to do. They did a solid enough job for it, but I didn't really want it or need it. I feel like any other tag team here would have been better. The crew would have been better. You could have gotten, other tag teams whose names I can definitely say, and it just would have been a better match. And I don't know. I just wasn't like super into this or invested, and everybody knew the Hurt Syndicate was winning, so there like wasn't any jeopardy at all. But that said, Sammy showed out. Dustin looked good as always, and obviously the Hurt Syndicate are amazing, and I love MJF. So, it was the weakest match of the card, but that's not saying much because that's like basically saying, oh God, I don't know. A certain sandwich is the worst sandwich, but all the other sandwiches are like amazing. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm trying to do metaphors here. It's difficult.
that's an excellent metaphor, Dory. Fantastic. I would I
Okay.
would say it's like saying the worst Disco Elysium character. But I'm just a nerd.
Okay. Yeah. No, that I get that though. Who is the worst Disco Elysium character, by the way?
Oh, that is a very good question. I'm gonna go for.
Got to be
That's
Measurehead,
such a
right?
no. He's so perfectly characterized.
That's true. That is true.
I would argue the racist truck driver.
Oh
Just
yeah.
just because, right? You've got two race. This is such a tangent. Oh my god! You've got two racists in Measurehead and the racist truck driver, but like, I feel like they could have made the. This sounds awful. This sounds really awful, but they could have
Somebody
hammered
clip
the
this.
point home. They could have hammered the point home a bit better with the racist truck driver. They could have made him a bit more disgusted at Kim and his
Oh, don't
presence as a
forget about
police
the
officer.
fascist who calls Kim a yellow man.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a bit more obvious. Yeah,
Yeah, well, I was
yeah.
just saying there's three racists in the. Never mind, it doesn't matter. I was like,
Oh,
I was like, I'm forgetting one very important racist character. Let me remind him.
yeah, that's
But
true.
anyway,
I
so
think
the match was cool, and it
yeah,
definitely happened, and we really don't need to ever talk about it again.
that's fair. That's very fair. It was a good match, though,
But Sammy,
but good.
but Sammy.
But the AEW Continental title was up next. Uh, I had to cut that short, otherwise we would have gone the whole hour.
We really would have.
So yeah, this match, right? This was low-key one of my more anticipated matches of the night because there was something in me that said that Speedball was going to bring it out of Okada, because anyone who knows what Okada was like before AEW knows that he is one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time. But the chances that we have had to see that Okada have been quite few and far between in AEW, and I get that's for a reason, because he is working a very specific type of sort of goofy heel shtick. It's very, you don't want to have him be sort of a goofy, laughing, comedy guy and also be the greatest professional wrestler on the roster, because that sort of defeats the point. But every now and then you do get a glimpse of Okada at his best. I'm thinking like the Ospreay match, the Pac match when he first came in, and now this match as well, because this match absolutely blew through even my expectations, and I expected it to be a really good match.
I thought this was a really great match. Styles make matches and all that stuff. I don't know what AJ is up to. How does he make all these matches? But I really liked what we got here. It was, Bailey's agility versus Okada's power, and that just really told the whole story. One of the most cringeworthy moments, and I don't say this necessarily in a bad way, but is when Bailey went to go kick Okada. I think you know what's going to happen next. And he misses and hits the steps instead. I don't know how you fake that. I immediately recounted a time in my head where I had been teasing Kim and immediately kicked my foot into a cabinet or something like that was holding a bunch of our cups, and I had a bruise the size of Texas for a couple of days.
I have properly sprained my foot by not focusing on where I was going. And like the big round sort of bollards that you can get, blocking off sort of pedestrianised streets.
Right.
I fully sort of speed walked into one of those and wrapped my foot around it, and I was hobbling for weeks on end, and it just took me back to that. I was thinking, oh my, because like you say, how do you fake that? You can't fake that. The man,
No.
the man is not wearing fucking Doc Martens. He's wearing nothing, and he smashes his foot into steel. Like awful, but also amazing.
Yeah. So a really cool spot, but also a really horrifying spot. I always love the Bailey triangle moonsault. I actually yelled triangle like a fucking mark as soon as he did
does
it.
that so well.
He does it so good. I've seen him do it so many times on the indies, not like in person, but I mean like in clips and stuff like that.
Like, every time I think, oh, you're gonna hit the apron, because he comes so close every single time. But like somehow he just measures it so perfectly every time, and
I did see it on Dynasty. I do remember seeing that on Dynasty when he fought Kenny Omega and Ricochet.
What, they hit the apron?
Oh no, when he did the triangle.
Oh right, I see what you mean. You mean in person? Yeah,
I'm
yet to see a speedball match in person, but I should
I
imagine.
think he'll be there at All In. I do think he'll be there at All In. In some capacity.
Year? What, this year you mean, or because I'm not going this year?
Oh, right, not All In. Shit, I meant Forbidden Door, I guess.
Yeah, spoilers. I will be at the O2. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that, because Speedball is one of those guys that has been sort of he was in TNA for a while. He's been on the indies for donkey's years, and he's one of those guys that I always thought, oh my god, I'd love to see you in AEW one day. I thought maybe one day we'd see it, but especially when TNA started partnering with WWE, there was a bit of me that thought, oh god, please don't, do it. But then he's come to AEW, and he's been everything I could possibly have wanted. He has fit AEW like a glove.
Totally agree. It really feels like Bailey's been there since the beginning, or at least something like that, right? And yeah, I really appreciate what he brings and the energy he has. One last thing I want to mention from the match before we move on is the part where Bailey hit him with the time adventure, which of course is from Adventure Time, and uh, Bailey pretty much has the 3 count, but Okada hits the bottom rope, grabs the bottom rope at the last second, and there's kind of a tie between Knox hitting the 3 count and him getting on there, and a tie goes towards the champion, as they explained on commentary. Just thought that was a really cool moment. I know for some people
Yeah,
they're like, "Oh, Knox botched it" or whatever, but I don't know. I think they could have done
no,
that on purpose, but whatever.
I don't think that was a botch. I really appreciated that because
Yeah,
I appreciate the willingness to be like, because realistically, I always think this with spots like that where referees see the foot on the ropes just before they're about to hit the thing, and sometimes it looks good, but sometimes it looks so unrealistic. Like they obviously have planned the spot, and the ref is never going to hit that mat because they know what the spot's going to be. But I really appreciated a proper grabbing of the ropes and the referee counting the 3 because why wouldn't he? The guy has it kicked out and then sees the hand on the ropes, just as he hits the 3 and goes, no, 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 not a 3, not a 3. I saw it. I saw it just in time. I think it really added to the realism of the spot, which is something that you really don't see every day with these sorts of things. Yeah, I love that. I know people will say, "Oh, it was a botch." I'm like you. I don't think it necessarily was. I think that was planned, and I think
yeah.
they executed it really well.
Yeah, there were definitely some moments on this showcase that I think were intentional botches, and I'm really glad
Mm.
that they decided to give a moving tribute to Sabu. So R.I.P. Intentional botches, great stuff.
Yeah, there's one in the main that we'll get to that I really
That's right.
appreciated.
Oh God, I love that one.
But yeah, we'll move swiftly on. I want to talk about this match. Um,
Yes, this was really good. This almost outperformed my expectations, honestly. Not that I thought it was going to be bad, but Mina brought it. I mean,
she
this was
really
her
did.
match to lose basically because of how well she did. I think I'm using the expression correctly there.
No, absolutely, yeah. So, yeah, this is the women's world title match: Toni Storm versus Mina Shirakawa. A lot of history between these two. I remember when Mina first showed up in AEW because it was one of those cases where they set the groundwork for it quite a few months before Forbidden Door. Like Forbidden Door was in June. I mean, you were there, right, last year. So Forbidden Door was in
Yes,
June, I think, right at the end of June.
I believe
Mina
so.
had been
Yes.
Mina had been showing up in AEW since I think April. Like she'd been doing matches. I think she fought like Anna Jay on like a Collision or a Dynamite. She fought other various women on the roster. So they had done a good job of sort of showcasing Mina as a talent, and sort of knowing that Stardom didn't necessarily see much in her. Like I know they put the white belt on her, but
The white
everyone
belt
gets a
reign was shit. We don't talk about that.
yeah. I was gonna say everyone gets a run with the fucking white belt in Stardom.
Yeah, I mean, they
Um,
even gave it to SLK, and I mean, what is that bum done except be one of the best women's wrestlers in history? Anyway,
I don't know. I just get distracted by the
obviously, she
canteens
needs
to
to
me.
lose weight. You know,
Oh
you know,
my god,
SLK. You know.
fucking Rossi. Um, fucking. I mean, if he'd have showed up today after that match, we'd have had two Predators on the show.
Oh,
Um,
hey, allegedly,
thank you,
hey,
thank you. No, fuck allegedly. You think he's seeing this?
hey. Well,
Um,
no, just trying to protect you, But you're right. You're right.
I hear you like him young. Um, but yeah, this
Well,
match
we've gone on
was
a tangent. So anyway, Mina versus
yeah.
Tony.
This match was, like you say, exceeded my expectations. And my expectations were high for this match because
Yeah,
we this was one of the matches that we had seen before, last year, and it was good then. It was really good then. But both of these women have come so fast, even since that match. I think Toni Storm has found her groove in this character absolutely immensely. With matches obviously against Mariah May. Those two had phenomenal matches, but also with matches against like I know Thunder Rosa. We don't much like Thunder Rosa, but she had a really good match with Thunder Rosa. Um, she had a great match with Megan Bain. She's had great matches with you know, Chris Statlander and Willow Nightingale. I really like their three-way of Dynamite a few months ago. But yeah, she's found her groove, which is excellent to see. And Mina Shirakawa has come leaps and bounds because she's finally got a promotion that is invested in her. You know, it was a no-brainer for her to come to AEW, I think.
Yeah, I mean it's not like the whole thing about women being looked at less when they get older is limited to the United States, right? It's also a thing in Japan as well, where, it's very much focused on the younger talents, as long as you're anywhere from God, I don't know, teenage years to your early 30s, you're fine.
Yeah,
But once you start getting up into your 30s, and God forbid you get into your 40s, it's it's not looking good for you. Basically, you're not going to get as much booking than you would otherwise. So
yeah.
it's
I
just
mean,
an
look at
unfortunate precedent.
yeah. I mean, look at Miko Satomura. Well, I'm not a big fan of her outside of the ring. You know, she's quite abusive to her
I saw
Joshis,
that
for
clip
example.
for the first time ever. I was not a fan,
Yeah, but regardless of that,
but
one of the
regardless,
greatest women's wrestlers of all time, and she retired. I think how old is she? Like 45, which for a man is like nowadays is nothing. You've got people pushing 60 still wrestling to really high levels, and it's just a shame because
yeah.
there is, I think, quite a bit of sexism there. But regardless, I really appreciate that Mina has reached another level in her career. At the age of, I think she's what, 36, 37?
Yeah, she's
37.
in her yeah, she's up there in terms of her in terms of the 30s or whatever. But yeah, she looks great here. I mean, I could have guessed a million years for a million years what style that Mina Shirakawa
Mm,
was eventually going to settle into. I would never have guessed technical wrestler. I mean, I already knew that, in Stardom because I used to watch Stardom pretty religiously. But um I just really appreciate the technical graps that she's brought. I'm not saying she's some kind of Zack Saber Jr., but she is great. She's great in her own right, and she's only been doing this for honestly about as long as maybe Sky Blue has been doing it, or maybe
yeah, she's
Harley.
been doing it for she's been doing it for 6 years, which in
Yeah, six
wrestling
years.
terms is nothing really.
Yes,
You know,
right. So
there are people my age. You know, I'm 24. There are people my age that've been doing it for nearly a decade. So
right,
that
yeah.
is nothing in wrestling terms, and she has come so far. And like you say, her technical wrestling style is it's excellent. She's a really excellent technical wrestler, and I think that gets lost sometimes when you look at her character work and
Sure.
her sort of her image, her live show charisma,
Live
as you
show
might
charisma.
say.
Yep.
But
Uh,
the fundamental technical style that she does is really really well grounded and really excellent, and I want to put that over.
Yeah, well, I do think we need to talk about the elephant in the room when it comes to this match, Adam. And that is, the
Lesbian
fact.
kissing.
No, I was gonna say poor Luther, taking that
Oh
DDT.
right, yeah.
Poor Luther, just absolutely getting. We'll talk about that other thing in a second. Definitely, don't you think we won't? But yeah, poor Luther, just absolutely getting hit by tornado DDT, or whatever he got hit by, and just like absolutely destroyed. So poor Luther. And then he got his revenge back on TK later on though, when he nearly killed Renee and some water
That
bottles.
was
I don't know if
so
you saw that
funny.
on the fucking
That was
press.
so funny.
So funny. He didn't even apologize to, which I massively respected.
He
So
just wiped. He just wiped out half the table.
I know it was incredible. So yeah, this was a great, and I love the finish too, because a lot of what has brought us to this dance was the surprise roll up, right? The most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll up,
A big
and
package.
the big package. And they really teased that the big package was gonna do it here, was gonna really come through for both competitors. And instead, I don't know why I was laughing. I didn't say anything. And but instead, we got a clean finish, and I love that because we had already gotten a surprise roll up from Mercedes and Jamie, and I was already very upset about that. And we don't need to talk about that again. But anyway, so instead, Storm gave a big headbutt, which was awesome, and then a Storm Zero and pinned Mina. So that was a great way to kind of wrap it up. AEW results says that both competitors exhibited mutual respect. So I wonder how I wonder how exactly they exhibited that mutual respect. I wonder if anyone remembers.
I call up my boyfriend for a mutual respect session.
Historians will say that they exhibited great mutual respect between them.
Yes,
but yeah, this was a very long post-match angle. I don't know why it went on for 5 hours, but I respect it. And I don't know. Some people on Twitter said that they saw Mina say, "What about Mariah?" But other people said they didn't see it. I don't know, one way or the other. But
I thought she said it. I've
yeah,
seen
I
it,
didn't
and
see
I
it
thought she
originally.
said it.
I'm going off what people on Twitter said, but I mean, you saw it, other people saw it, so I mean, I don't know. It would make sense within the story. So
Yeah, because I think she specifically says, "What about Mariah-san?" Which
yeah,
would make sense. But that's what it looked like to me. I'm no professional lip reader, but that's what it looked like to me. Which I would be very much happy if Mariah resigned, please, por favor. But
yeah,
regardless, we shall see. I
yeah.
want to talk about this next match, though. Oh my god, I could talk for 5 hours about this next match. Holy
Now,
shit!
Adam, would you say you're so excited?
I am, and if you continue to talk about the Mercedes Moné finish, the bodies will be hitting the floor.
Ooh, I've got multiple bodies. I'm just like Xehanort from Kingdom Hearts. That's my second Kingdom Hearts reference in one podcast. Let's go.
God, why do I agree to these?
All right, Anarchy in the fucking arena. Let's go.
Yeah!
First off, we have to talk about the goddamn Bucks. Let's put some goddamn respect on the EVPs. While we've been away, they've been having, and even during when we weren't away, they're having such an incredible run as a tag team right now. And this was such another amazing showing for them. They came out in fucking old timey gear. They had the little pip pip cheerio music. They fucking they had like Justin Roberts do this whole big goddamn speech about how awesome Matthew and Nicholas Jackson are. Please use their full Christian names. Thank you. They're good Christian boys. They've never done anything wrong in their life. Actually, they had a funny moment where during the match, I was like, Kim, you need to respect Matthew and Nicholas Jackson. They're good Christian boys. They never done anything wrong. This is like 25 minutes into the match. I'm like, they've never done anything wrong in their life. And just as I say that, Prince Nana is trying to like save Swerve from God only knows what. And like one of them punches him off the apron. I'm like, okay, well maybe they've done one thing wrong.
I think
But
they both super kick. I think they super kick partied him off the apron. If I'm not mistaken.
yeah, I think you're right. So this was the from the get go. It was incredible. Now we were all worried because nobody saw Joe, and so we were like, well, where the fuck is Joe?
Yeah.
But they swerved us, bro, and they brought out Joe, and it rhymes, so it must be true.
They really did, and like I loved. First of all, I wanna sort of talk about the Death Riders and their entrance because I thought it really sort of struck home to me the pack mentality of the Death Riders. Where it was like they split up throughout the arena, and you could see them. They were like a pack of hyenas circling, because all the baby faces had come down at the start. And I briefly crashed out because I was really hoping that Willow Nightingale would be the song that everyone brawled to. But I was quickly assuaged. But yeah, I really liked the sort of dynamic of all the baby faces in the middle, and all the heels are like circling,
Yes.
waiting to strike. And then, of course, the Bucks had their entrance, which was the most campy bollocks you will ever see in a wrestling ring. It was magnificent. And then the brawl starts as Anarchy in the arena does. Joe comes back. He's taking out Claudio at the top. I think was it Claudio?
Yes,
think
it
it was
was
Claudia.
Claudia. Joe literally. I love this fucking. By the way, this was I fucking love this. I might literally go back and watch this match. I love this match so much, and the main event.
Oh, it's
Oh my god,
but
we're
yeah,
getting into the
just
part of the pay per view where I'm just gonna start fucking gushing about AEW, how
yeah.
AEW is one of the best fucking promotions ever, like ever. Like these matches are incredible. Anyway, yeah, Joe like made it his fucking mission. I don't know what the fuck he saw with Claudia. Like I know they've had their matches and stuff and their beef and yada yada. And Claudia also took out two of his teammates. So actually, I think that's why in storyline. But Joe was on him, and it was brutal. I mean, Joe just immediately came from the backstage area and came up on Claudia and was like, "Hey, what's up?" and just fucking punched him, kicked him, threw him around. I mean, I think like 15 minutes later, they were still fighting each other.
Mm,
So
absolute this match. Oh my god.
there's a lot to talk about, but I honestly want to go as much as we can point by point because this is such a good match that I want to talk about it as much as possible. But yeah, Moxley using the fork on Hobbs, just classic Mox. Loved seeing it. Willow, of course, was incredible this entire match, getting slammed on the barricade and then also throwing like I forget what was she throwing at Marina outside. I don't remember. She was
Bottles.
like
They were
tossing
glass bottles.
glass
They
bottles.
were
That's right. And then she hit her with one right in the head, and that was awesome
yeah.
too.
It was absolutely incredible. And like the I want to talk about the music bits just before we move on. Because you had the fucking Revolutionary War music that they
Yes.
were brawling to for like a good sort of 2-3 minutes, and then Kenny Omega grabs the mic and is like, "Right, no, that's enough of that shit. Let's let's get hyped up here. Let's have like a party or whatever." And then the let's say much maligned by some sections of the internet, the brief AEW theme of "I'm so excited" by the Pointer Sisters starts playing, and I popped like a motherfucker for that because
I
I
did too.
love that
And
song.
first off, it's a great song. And second, I love that every time they bring it back, it's a little tee-hee. Because remember when they did this the first time, everyone on the internet was like, "What the fuck? Like this doesn't fit." And
Yeah,
and it's and it's terrible. And AW in the mud. And so I just love to like imagine like Tony Khan's backstage like tee hee hee. And yeah, it was great shit. I was singing, I was doing a little dance too. I'm glad no one was there except Kim and my dog. And it was so fun. It was such a great moment. And Kenny was like, all right, I'll take it. And he was like hitting
yeah.
people, I think to the beat of the song. And
Because that's Kenny. That's
yeah,
Kenny
of
so through
course.
and through.
Absolutely it is. And so I also really liked when I love Swerve's face when I'm so excited it came on. He was like, "The fuck is happening?" Like his
Yeah.
facial reaction was so good.
But then Kenny sort of says, no, not that one, not that one. He's like, can we get a bit of sort of like 2000s new metal in here? Let's get the party started again. And honestly, right, if you could sort of say to me, what songs would I have for an Anarchy in the Arena? The sort of uncensored, unmitigated brawling and violence of Anarchy in the Arena. What song fits that mold perfectly? I'm not sure you could come up with a better option than the song that they chose.
So good. I mean, I kind of wish that I hadn't had it ruined by a certain scoopster, but that's my own fault for being in every thread imaginable for this. I mean, really just two. But
I
uh,
I I didn't get what he was doing. I gotta be honest.
yeah, I kind of at first I didn't get it, and then eventually I figured out. Oh, I know, like I understand, like what's that? Because at that point we were pretty late in the show, and I'm like, it doesn't make sense for any other match, so it's got to be this one. But
Mm.
I mean, it was incredible. I don't know if we should say. I don't know if you're like holding out to not give it away, but it was an
Oh no, fuck
amazing
it. If
moment.
you're watching this,
Yeah.
you know the
Yeah,
song.
absolutely, and it was incredible. Eventually, they throw someone into one lone speaker, and
Yeah.
Adam in kayfabe, that one speaker was giving surround sound to over 8,000 people. So that's my headcanon too. I don't know what Tony
Yeah.
Khan paid for that fucking speaker, but I
Also,
hope someone
also,
gets it
I
at their
just
wedding.
before we move on, I just want to put over if
Yeah.
in case you have been living under a rock lately. Sorry, that's a
AEW's
reference
on
to
fire.
yeah, there we go. But no, in case you lived under a rock and you didn't watch the match, the song we're talking about is "Bodies" by Drowning Pool, which is
Absolutely.
the quintessential fucking.
And I had the Psycho Stick. I don't know if you've ever heard it. The Psycho Stick parody where he's like, "I can only count to four. One. I can only count to one. Two.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can
yeah.
only count to two." Great shit. So I had
Oh,
that in
but
my
what
head
I want
too. Was so good, and the crowd was so good for
this
it. They popped exactly.
this is what I was talking about. Yeah,
Yes.
this is what I wanted to talk about. The
Yes.
crowd was incredible during this. You had the whole crowd going, one, nothing wrong with me, two, nothing, and it just added so much to the whole thing. And like they would time their moves to the dropping of the beat, and like you'd have dives going on just as the crowd is going, let the bodies hit the floor. Like, this is the best Anarchy in the Arena they have ever done, and I gotta be honest, I don't think it's particularly close.
I I mean, I think it's the best one. I'm pretty sure it's the best one. I'd have to go back and check. Um, but I mean, it's got to be up there. It's got to be up there.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. It really is just absolutely phenomenal. And there were so many spots in this match that we. Oh, I also want to put over briefly before we move on in any way. The integration. There was someone in the live thread that we were taking part in that was sort of worried that the two women in the match, Willow Nightingale and Marina Shafir, would be
Yes.
sort of sequestered off doing their own thing. And they did do their own thing for a little bit, but I really want to put over just how excellent the integration of the women was into the match, because you had Willow, taking out all of the Death Riders with spears. You had Marina Shafir cracking Kenny Omega with a chair, and then she takes a fucking Snapdragon. And by the way, she took it better than most of the Death Riders did.
Yeah.
Just want to say that.
Though she did have
But
like 10 minutes to wind up the cell, but yeah, I do think she sold it beautifully.
like it wasn't a case of like, oh, it's a mixed match, but the sort of traditional, I don't want to say WWE style thing where it's like, oh well, we must segregate the match so that they cannot interact, or if they do interact, it's only very briefly. No, this was a full on 6 versus 6, and all six took on all six, and I
Yeah.
really appreciate that.
Yeah, Willow did some awesome spears. She did some clotheslines on the men. I think Moxley hit her with a paradigm shift or hit her at
I
some
think he
point.
hit, yeah,
And then
yeah.
later on, as we mentioned earlier, Briscoe came back, helped out
Mm.
against the Death Riders. Gabe Kidd came in with the briefcase, and that was incredible. The one winged angel through the exploding table and the forklift assisted
Oh my god, yeah.
fucking swerve stomp was just amazing. Eventually, the match ends, if you can even believe it, with Swerve being the victor over Nicholas Jackson, getting
Mm.
a modified, as they call it, Swerve stomp with his new shoes with thumbtacks in them. Very good corporate synergy right here, which I'm sure the Bucks would have approved of. So good for
I
Swerve.
also want to put over that they made 35 minutes go by like that.
Yes,
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I'm just looking through. The first Anarchy in the Arena was 23 minutes long. The second one was 27 minutes long. The third one was 30 minutes long. So this is the longest one by like a good 5 minutes, and it's not even the main event like the most recent two were. So like they they had 35 minutes in which to fill, and they managed to go at an absolute breakneck pace. Like the match never slows down. In 35 minutes, the match never slows down, and the crowd stay with it. This could have very easily burnt out a lesser crowd, but this crowd stayed with it all the way. And this match just, it never stops, never stopping. And it escalates beautifully and beautifully to that final sort of 10-15 seconds where Kenny Omega has one of the Bucks. I cannot remember which order they go in. But he has one of the Bucks up for a one-winged angel through it's basically an electrified table, because all the electrical cables are lying on the table, and it sparks out, and everything is incredible. And then it pans over the camera to Swerve, who has these thumbtack. I think it's his new shoes he's bringing out, right? Like he has his own brand.
Yeah, that's what I said earlier. Yeah, it's the
Yeah. Sorry, yeah.
yeah. So
But yeah, he has his own thumbtack shoes. Swerve stomp, and like I've seen him hit a swerve stomp, right? Where it's very obvious that he plants his feet either side so as not to hit him. I'm fairly certain whichever buck it is gets thumbtacks right to the fucking face on this one.
yeah, it was
I remember
Nicholas,
what.
but yeah, I'm pretty sure he ate that one.
Yeah, because, the swerve stomp is a very easy move to make look good and also very safe because he can just hit it either side of the face. But I don't know whether I doubt it was a botch. It must have been an intentional sort of no, I'm going to take this move because he kicks him right in the fucking face with these thumbtacks
Yeah,
and then gets the pin. Right person to get the pin, by the way, because the whole thing about Swerve, has been that it's buck hunting season. He is going laser focused at the bucks. He failed against the Death Riders because of the Young Bucks, so that is his pathological hatred at the moment. And if you were going to pin anyone, you know, I didn't want it to be Wheeler Yuta again because Wheeler Yuta always takes the pin. So I felt like it probably should be one of the Bucks that takes the pin if they're going to lose. And the perfect person to pin them is Swerve Strickland.
yeah. So just excellently well done. 5 out of 5, 5 stars, 6 in the Tokyo Dome, etc., etc. Good shit.
Absolutely. So yeah, then moving on. This was a match that I was a bit worried about because I thought after that match and the absolute unmitigated chaos, like I say, 35 minutes of non-stop action, I thought maybe the crowd will be a bit burnt out on this. And this was the Don Callis family of Josh Alexander, Konosuke Takeshita, and the proto-star Carl Fletcher. Gotta say his full name,
Of course.
Versus the paragon of Adam Cole. The old undisputed era. Let's be honest. Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong. And this match, this is the other one that I was on about, and I think you agree with me that this felt like this would have made a very good Collision main event.
Yeah. But I also
In the
think that's exactly what makes it a good cooldown match. Like I
Mm.
really appreciated its placement. I think the crowd was definitely less like rowdy for it, but that's understandable, right? But they were still into it. They still liked it. There were still a lot of people here, Adam Cole and Roddy and Kyle and everyone on the Don Cal said like they're invested in one way or the other. And
I want to
so
put over, by the way.
yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. I want to put
No, that's
over
fine.
that Adam Cole, if you look at sort of the pure wrestling talents in this match, there's an argument to be made that Adam Cole is the weakest wrestler in this match. But fuck me, he worked his ass off during this match. I really appreciated that because there've been sort of talks that, he hadn't defended the TNT belt in a month, whether he was harboring an injury or whether it was just that he wasn't being booked or whatever. But he went out there and showed, no, actually, I can still turn up the heat when I need to.
Right, for sure. Yeah, Adam Cole really showed out here. He brought the the boom, if you will. And I really liked what he did in this match. I mean, all of his moves looked really good. The post match boom looked really good in particular. That comes
Mm.
to mind. I thought Roddy looked really good here too. Uh, Kyle Fletcher, of course, always looks great, and
Doesn't suggest.
Takeshita, of course. Takeshita, and I mean, just everybody looked really solid here. I mean, there's not a ton to
Yeah.
talk about, but what we got was really solid.
Yeah.
And
And
I
I
enjoyed
think
it.
the greatest compliment you can pay to this match is that after a sort of 35-minute barn burner and having the main event that everyone knew was going to be a fantastic match following it, they managed to sort of keep the crowd and lift the crowd back up after, what could have been a very crowd killing match in Anarchy in the Arena. You put 6 of your best wrestlers on in the roster. You put them out there. They've not got sort of planned massive matches, so you just put them out there. You say, right, go and have a 10-15 minute 6-man match. Get your shit in, do your best, and bring the crowd along. And they did that. They accomplished it really well.
Sorry, muted myself.
Am I
Yes,
am
I
I
agree
still?
with you. Yeah, I was like immediately like, yeah, I agree. But yeah, it was great. I don't know if there are any like big movement or big moments that I really liked. I mean, I did like how like technical Kyle
Go
got, how
Ace.
strong
Go
Roddy looked
Ace.
at times. So
Also, go Ace.
yes, the post match. Yeah, I love Tana just aura farming. Didn't do a goddamn thing. And
He
just
really
walked.
didn't.
He smiled, he walked. I don't think he did a one single goddamn thing. God bless him.
I think
Um
he hit a sling blade. I think on Kyle Fletcher or
did
maybe
he?
Josh Alexander.
Wow, I was watching
One
and
of
I
the
totally missed that. That's how fast he is.
yeah, that's how he's just lightning quick. Those knees,
Absolutely. Yeah, no, he
incredible.
walks just like Ryan Nemeth, he walks completely normally. So
Oh dear, but yeah, good stuff. Setting it towards Forbidden Door, I should imagine. I also
yes.
love that he was supposed to be done on American soil. He had that really great match with Konosuke Takeshita, the last match
Yeah.
you'll ever have on American soil. And then like a month later, he's like, "No, I'm just going to show up. Fuck it."
Yeah. That's a
But yeah,
wrestler for you.
yeah, they never can give it up, can they?
No.
Um, but yeah, now we need to talk about. I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I appreciate that there is recency bias at stake. There is, I've watched it back once. I haven't watched it back, 4 or 5 times like I would normally do with a match of this caliber. This genuinely, this main event, Hangman Adam Page versus Will Ospreay for the final of the Owen Hart Cup tournament. This might be the best match I have ever seen. I'll stand on that.
This is undoubtedly my match of the year. It's and that's against, I mean, so many great matches, right? Literally the Anarchy and the Arena match that we just saw, the
Yeah,
Gabe Kidd match
yeah.
against
Mariah
against
May,
the Fletcher and
Kenny
Osprey
Omega.
match at Revolution, the
Yeah.
Osprey Takeshita match at Spring Break, Mariah May versus
Oh my
Tony
god, I love
Storm.
that one.
I just there's just I've got at least like 7 other matches that this one is somehow better than, and they're all 5-star matches, and of course they're all from AEW, and or one of them is from New Japan, and I just I don't know. I don't even know what to say about this. I was at 5 stars 15 minutes before the fucking match ended. Like
Yeah,
I don't know what to say. I don't even know what you say about this fucking match
this
that can't be imagined just by the card.
this match this match went 37 minutes, and this is right. I'm gonna wrap this back around, but back in New Japan when Kazuchika Okada, was the IWGP World Champion, he was main eventing all the shows and whatever. They would give him 40 minutes to build a match, whether it was against Omega, Naito, Ibushi, Jay White, whatever. They give him 40 minutes, 45, up to an hour if you're doing a Kenny match, and he would layer it that you would, eventually you would get to the point where it was like, right, it's an Okada match. So the first 15, 20 minutes, you're going to be at second gear because he's going to build up and ramp up. And, we're going to hit that 6th, 7th gear, sort of 40, 50 minutes into the match, and it's going to be incredible. And Okada hasn't had the chance to do that in AEW yet. I should imagine maybe he'll get the chance to do it at All In. Maybe against Kenny, if they give it enough time. This match is the absolute perfect encapsulation of that slow burn. Give them 40 minutes to build a match to the most incredible crescendo that you can possibly see in wrestling. Because this match starts, and I saw some people while the match was going on, sort of 5-10 minutes in, saying, "Well, this is starting quite slow. This is sort of a feeling out process." And I clocked it immediately. I was like, "Oh, this is going long. This is gonna go like that 35-40 minute spot." Because they were starting quite slow, they were being very methodical, they were feeling each other out. And it's about the sort of 15-20 minute mark that they have a sequence. I can't remember the exact sequence, but it's, yes, the Osprey hits his sort of his Sasuke special and his Robinson kick, the flip kick that he does off the ropes.
Right.
And he goes for an Oz cutter, and Hangman counters it, and they exchange these moves. And it's at that moment I go, right, we're out of the feeling out process. We've got a match on our fucking hands here. And I think that's the point where you're like, oh, here we go. We're going to hit that 5-star threshold. And then they just keep building. We're at fourth, fifth gear now, 20 minutes in. And they're properly sort of, going for it. Hangman is hitting his lariat that he, springs off the rope, someone's on the apron, springs off the ropes and hits them. He leathers Will Ospreay. He absolutely takes his fucking head off. And this is like 15 minutes in. We've still got another 20, 25 minutes to go. Hangman hits the Arihara moonsault. He gets the most perfect form on it you'll ever see in a match. We're 20 minutes in. We've still got another 15, 20 minutes to go. And this match, after that point, after that build-up, it throws you around like a dog with a chew toy in its mouth. I'm going to let you speak on this because I could rant about this for ages, but this match was perfectly built, absolutely perfectly paced, perfectly presented. This is probably my favourite match of all time.
It's got to be up there for me as well. It's certainly one of the best, if not the best, main event that AEW's ever done. No interference, no distractions, no DQ, no, a little bit of cheekiness towards the end, and we'll talk about that. But it was incredible. I mean, just even the early going when Hangman is going for a move, and then Ospreay dodges, and then Ospreay goes for the Hangman goes for the buckshot, and then Ospreay dodges again, and then he goes for the hidden blade, and Hangman dodges. I mean, and they look at each other. I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, and it's the first time they've ever fought. I mean, that's why there's a feeling out process here. I'm sure the two guys are very familiar with each other's style, theoretically, but it's a whole nother fucking thing to do it in practice. And I mean, it just was. I mean, I don't know. I'm running out of fucking adjectives at this point, but it was an incredible showcase for both men. I want to highlight Ospreay's heel turn, or not heel turn, but is acting a little tweenerish. Like eventually, like he hits him with after Hangman beats the referee's count, which I thought Hanger would, but I also thought maybe Ospreay would bring him in. He was like, I don't want to win like that, and maybe it would cost him or something. But no, Hangman beats the 9 count, and then somehow kicks out of a hidden blade, which I totally bid on, by the way. There was multiple moments here that I was like, I thought Ospreay was winning. I mean, full on, I thought Ospreay was winning. And then
I thought
Ospreay
he was winning as well.
I just thought he just fucking loses it, right? Slams Hangman's head, starts kicking him around, and then eventually Hangman's able to get it back while giving a dead eye onto the already collapsed announce table, which thank God they were able to protect that.
Oh, that could have gone so badly.
Could have really. And then they just start, with apologies to one of our friends, just start shouting out their exes, right? I mean, Omega, Ospreay starts using Omega's moves, and Hangman uses the Angel's Wings, and also does Swerve Strickland with the big pressure. I mean, just and eventually he just hits that buckshot from the top rope like he did, and then hits another one, and I couldn't believe that he won. Like, not that I didn't want him to win. I told Kim right before this, I was like, there's no bad option here. Either Hangman wins and we all win, or Ospreay wins and we all win. And I mean, there was no bad option. I want them to make it a Texas death match, because obviously it'll be in Texas. I think they had a Texas death match, right? Moxley and Hangman. I feel like they did. And
yeah, they did.
And Hangman won that. Now here's my concern, right? I'm not crashing out. It's not that level of concern. But there's just a little voice in the back of my head that says to me, Hangman has already beaten Moxley twice. And not to belabor the point, but Moxley also passed out. I don't remember to Hangman. I think he tapped, right, and he had never tapped to anyone up to that point. I don't think he ever has since. So, is Moxley willing to? Not willing, obviously Tony Khan has final say, but is that something they really want to do? They want to give Hangman another win over Moxley? I don't know, and that is the jeopardy there. Like, I don't know that they're going to give Hangman another win over Mox. I know Mox has beaten them once, maybe twice. I don't. He definitely won that time that Hangman had a concussion, or maybe that was a no contest. I don't remember. But
I think they class it as a win. Hold on, I can check this.
yeah.
Um,
So, but my point while you're looking that up is just that it's it's a bit of a dicey situation, and I'm really curious what they're going to do. I hope they make it a Texas Death match. We've never had a rematch for Texas Death, so I'd love that. And I mean, obviously they're in Texas, so it could work out really well.
so just to say, they have faced each other. They faced each other quite a few times. So, um, yeah, Mox beat Hangman via, referee's decision, as they say, concussed him. Then Hangman won the rematch in Los Angeles. Then Moxley beat him again on the road to Revolution. And then finally we have the Texas Death match where
So
Hangman
they're
tapped him
tied.
out.
So they're
They're
tied.
tied.
Okay, then I can see. I
And
absolutely
not
can
only
see.
that, but we are forgetting that earlier in Moxley's title reign, it's a very forgettable main event, admittedly. But at World's End, the main event was John Moxley versus Jay White versus Orange Cassidy versus Hangman
Right,
Page, and John Moxley
right,
won, obviously.
right. So yeah, so I mean, and that is technically a win over Hangman, right? I don't. Hangman wasn't the one who got pinned. I think it was Cassidy.
Uh, Let me
I,
check.
I don't really remember. I'm looking too,
Let
but
me have a look.
I liked that match. By the way, I did think it was a solid, a fun time. But yeah, obviously a bit forgettable. Obviously, since I did forget. But yeah, I mean they're tied. If they're not, you could even say that Mox has one up on Hangman because technically he beat him in that match. I mean, Jay White goes on all the time that he beat so and so and so and so in a triple threat match, or four way or whatever the fuck, right? So I mean,
Yeah,
Mox could do the same thing as a heel. So anyway, with that said, yeah, I could see them giving Hangman the win again, and they'll go over that history and they'll remind people technically they're tied in singles matches, and that's at best if you don't count their World's End match where Moxley got the win over Hangman, by default because Hangman didn't win and Moxley did. So yeah, I can see them do that. I hope they make it a hardcore match. I don't see why not. I don't think anything could live up to it, and there's nothing else on the card. Obviously, right now with 50 days to go, that is a death match. So I don't see why not. Just do a rematch. It's been a few years, right, since they did the Texas Death. So I mean, I don't see why you couldn't run it back. That was Revolution 2023, so it's been about 2.5 years. So anyway, yeah, I'm just like fucking marking out thinking
yeah,
about this. But I hope they make a Texas Death. 50 days is plenty of time to build to a Texas Death match. So do it, Tony.
absolutely. Just to point out, I'm remembering the four way more and more as I read about it. First of all, it was Jay White that got pinned because
Okay,
of course it was.
of
Um,
course.
but one of the main sort of threads of the match was that this was when Hangman was sort of firmly a heel before he'd had the redemption arc with Christopher Daniels and stuff like that. And one of the main sort of threads of the match was that the baby faces, or the non Death Riders as it were, had the match won, but Hangman, he'd been so poisoned that he would go after Jay White and Orange Cassidy and therefore cost them the match. So
Right, 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 right.
so so there's a thread that you can absolutely pull on there of like, the last time I faced you, John, I was not the same man that I was now, and I let my hatred blind me to the bigger picture of defeating you and reclaiming AEW. But I'm back now, and I'm a changed man, and you will not, I will rise above you and reclaim AEW for myself and for the company as a whole. I think he's winning. I think Hangman's winning. I think, not to get too into the weeds of potential backstage fuckery or whatever, but there was a report that came out that the way of John Moxley's dethronement was pretty set in stone, but there were discussions about whether they would pivot the Who. And I reckon they have, because I reckon the story was always going to be that it was going to be Darby Allin, right? They've been setting that thread up for months and months, having him close the show at Full Gear and World's End and whatever. But I reckon they have pivoted the who to Hangman Page. And I don't think they've pivoted the where. I think the where was always going to be All In. The where was always going to be at Globe Life, in front of a massive crowd, hopefully. Um, I think, yeah, I think he's winning. I think Hangman is going to be the man to win the World Championship. And I will not be dissuaded.
Yeah, I'm nervous, but I think he is winning. And I don't know if you make that the main event. I feel like you do get a stipulation, ironically, so it doesn't main event, so that you can do just a straight up singles match of Kenny versus Okada, uh, and
Mm.
and have that the main event. I really do think Kenny versus Okada for title unification is more, maybe not more important. I don't know. I struggle. I would be okay with either one main eventing, and with apologies to Tony versus Mercedes. I just, if it was any other two matches, I would say that Tony versus Mercedes
This,
should main event. But
see,
it's
this is my
Okada
thing, right?
versus Kenny for the first time in 8 years.
Yeah, this is my thing, right? I sort of view this as like a card building exercise, if you will. And not to relitigate whether, what we think about Tony and Mercedes. I think Mercedes is losing. I think Tony is winning. So therefore, I think you can put that in the middle of the card, maybe sort of, I don't know, fourth or fifth, and have that be a really good match, and then have another match, not necessarily as a cool down, but sort of a, I don't know, the tag team title match or something like that, or something along those lines. Then you have Hangman versus Moxley in maybe a Texas death match. Go for it. Go give them 25 minutes or so. Let them kill each other. Get the crowd on their feet. Hangman wins, massive moment. Crowd will be quite sort of not spent after that, but they will be quite tired. You can have a cool down match after that. You can put. I'm not going to speculate as to who's in a cool down match, but you can have a match. But I think that if you put Okada versus Omega anywhere else but the main event, you will kill the crowd dead after that. That is my fear. I think it has to main event just for the the security and the well-being of the pay-per-view as a whole. You get what I'm saying?
I do, and I have a question for you. I wonder if they bring back the OG theme for Hangman at all. Do you think they do that? Do you think they get rid of the Dark Hangman theme?
Oh, I hope not, because I love that theme. I
I do.
love
I
the.
love it too. I just wonder if TK. Would you be okay with a one off? Like, would you mind if they just did it one time? Like, I was
I
so funny when
I
MJF did
wouldn't
it. By the
mind.
way,
Do you know what I wouldn't mind as a compromise? I wouldn't
yeah.
mind if they gave him Ghost Riders in the Sky just permanently.
Mm.
Because I reckon I like the Outlaws as a band. I don't think they're charging that much for that song. It's not like Johnny Cash singing it, but I think that was a fun. That was he came out to that with the first Texas Death match against John Moxley. Actually,
Right. So
I thought,
that'd be a great callback.
mm. So I think you could do that. I just don't want them to. I just don't want them to can that the heel theme, because I think I like the original, happy horse riding music, but I love this new theme. It's phenomenal.
Well,
Uh,
that
yeah,
takes care of us pretty much.
doesn't it just? So yeah, one of final verdict, one of the greatest pay-per-views I've ever seen. I'll stand by that.
Yeah. I thought it was really great. For me, Revolution's still the better pay per view from this year and last year.
Wow.
But,
Even
but
even with the main?
I didn't remember. I did not dislike the main event as much as other people did. And
Yeah, but you can't say that it was great.
I gave it a 4 out of 5. So it was a very weak 4 out of 5. But yeah, I didn't think it was as bad as people said. Although I will say
I
on
did
a
not.
yes, I know. I will say on a rewatch and reflection, I probably would have given it a 3.5 instead of a 4. But I gave it what I gave it at the time, and I'm not going to go back and edit it. So as
That's
it's
fair.
and I don't actually think that would matter anyway. There's such a difference between some of those matches. There's almost no other 4 or 3 match in there, and all the other ones are pretty high up too. So Revolution for me is still the highest, but this was really great and deserving of a card that basically half of which I was really excited for, and the other half of which I was like, this is either going to be great or maybe good. We'll see what happens. And
And also the Sammy match.
I wasn't going to say anything, but you did. So yeah, Crash Outs and Sammy aside, this was a really great, really really great pay-per-view, and enjoyed it pretty much from top to bottom, except in the couple spots where I blacked out.
Yeah, I mean, I love the show from top to bottom. No blackouts needed. This was maybe the most fun I've ever had watching a wrestling show
And
without
I'm
being
straight
there.
edge, by the way, so I blacked out the natural way. I just concussed myself, so
Yeah, of course,
I pulled a
of
little
course.
Tessa Blanchard.
Eh. Whoa, hold on, hold on.
Wait a second. No, that's not what I meant. No, that's not what I
Finally, can someone clip that?
I'll say the
Shim,
most
Shim,
kicked out is
Shim,
Iris every single day.
Shim,
Please.
our producer, can you clip that, please? I need
Please.
that.
Oh, God. I knew
Yes,
it was a
this has
bad idea
been.
to bring her up.
Yeah, well, I mean, why would you? Fucking
I
hell.
know. I know.
Um,
I
but
couldn't resist the joke. But anyway, that does it for us.
that does it for us. This has been a really excellent review that we've done today. Modcast is back. We will be back for Dynamite this week, finally. It's on me that we haven't been doing it for a couple of weeks, by the way.
Yeah,
I've just
Adam
been.
decided to have a life and like hang out with
Yeah, I've just been.
friends.
Yeah, my best friend came over from Canada, so I was touching grass officially for a good couple of
Fucking
weeks there.
Canadians, goddamn.
But I'm back. I officially have no life again, so we will be reviewing Dynamite come Thursday. So see you there. I'm sure Dory will be joining me for that. You will be, right?
Yeah. And Adam will be thinking to himself, "Oh God."
Yeah. What have I done?
Yep.
But yeah, this has been really excellent. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. You know what to do. Share it around. Maybe people will like this. I hope so. But yeah, this has been the AEW Double or Nothing review modcast. I'm Adam. Thank you for joining us, Dory.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank you very much and goodbye.
Bye.